everybody, it's your boy Raven, and I'm doing this video for the second time because it ran way over what I wanted it to. So I'm going to get right to the chase. This is, I know others have probably done videos on this subject before, but I'm going to do mine. And it's going to be on the subject of gatekeeping. There are wild and ridiculous claims. Well, we got to keep those blue-haired weirdos out of our game. We got to keep them out of the hobby. Well, we got to keep those bigots and ists and phobes out of our hobby. Boy, oh boy. I don't, it's not possible. It just isn't. And let me show you. I can apply this to both sides. Both sides are going to be pissed off at me about this, but I don't care. Now, before I show these tweets, to illustrate the point, let me start by saying I am not asking for any of you to go and respond to them. I'm not asking for any of you to harass them. Nothing. In fact, leave them alone. Some of these people are straight up fucking weirdos. Just leave them alone. And I'm going to show you some things right about now. And I'm going to go over here. Actually, I need to go all the way back, don't I? I do. Here we go. So, starting with this one right here, where I fully intend to push transphobic gamers out of the hobby. Let's let this sink in for just a moment. Okay, so I have a ton of questions, actually. Number one, how do you know? Is it because they won't... And this actually stems from the Chaosium character sheet show video that I did. It's not... it wasn't the video itself. It was someone making the claim. In fact, the reply to this particular Twitter user here, Allison Seib, I want to say. I don't know. I mean, I can't ask her how to pronounce it because, quite honestly, she blocked me. She blocked me for asking these questions. So, anyway, the tweet that she sent out was she was completely fine with these transphobic people. And notice they hammered this point home over and over. Transphobic gamers. Really? Okay. Whatever. But I'm not going to linger on this too long. The message here is they're going to push them out of the hobby entirely. They're going to do their part so that no matter what, you will never play another game again. Okay, so how do you enforce such sentiments? And this is where immediately frustrated, because this particular little moving picture here was Robert Downey Jr. rubbing his face in frustration like, oh my god. And then, but if you want the serious answer, the serious answer is that people who dehumanize others are not welcome at my table. Okay, so when you start dehumanizing someone else, let me tell you something. You know, I don't play at tables where people dehumanize others. Really? We won't really push them out. We isolate them. They are way more pro-human gamers. Okay, so the assertion of pushing them out of the hobby altogether is completely unenforceable, which we just established, and the act was meant to demoralize, not based on any fact. Let me help you out. Go to this link and read it. The definition of satire, yeah, I'm going to read constantly changing definitions. And, of course, ridiculous assertion, they can't enforce it. I'm going to go back to this one here. Dylan says, here's my answer. It's a game in the transphobe community is a bunch of super offended man-children that get upset the moment someone puts he, them in their bio, to the point where they will literally burn their own stuff to make a point. Can you provide me an example of that, Dylan? I'm literally I want to... Look, the last time I saw anyone burn something, it was a Warhammer player, and it was because Warhammer made such sweeping changes to the lore that now the entire army that he had spent money on, that he had amassed, that he had painted, that he had collected, that he was using, was now, he would now have to completely replace that. So he took all of his stuff out and he burned it. He was so frustrated with it that he took it out, all of his Warhammer stuff, and burned it. And then about a month or two later, maybe 6, then the rules changed to include that faction again. That is the only time I have ever seen anyone take their stuff out and burn it. So you can run them out by including pronouns. Oh, well, we have a little issue here. And I said, what stops someone from hopping onto a word processor, making their own character sheet, ignoring that part of the character sheet, or just using a notebook, paper, and index card? This was one of the responses I got. Remember that thing about man children? Yeah, that's super mature right there. That is just the picture of maturity. Here we go. I do my own part, such as removing bigots from the game conventions I'm on the staff of. You could play with your horrible little friends. Dude, you don't even know me. Whatever. So, no, it doesn't stop anyone from making character sheets, like I said before. But it's the only thing I can't do. That and flat out telling transphobes that I don't want buying my game because I don't. Okay, but you still have no way in enforcing that. And he mentions that there's a species in the game that's intersex by default. Getting a reassignment surgery is an overnight procedure because of technology. And it's literally listed that the characters can be one, both, or neither in the book. Okay, this is what we're getting at. Dylan, this is what I'm okay with. You making it optional, not making it mandatory. Everybody else who's responded is clear. They want that kind of thing mandatory. Of course, he's asking me if I was being a contrarian just for the sake of it. No, I'm being a contrarian to see exactly if you're going to be honest or you're just going to be a jerk. Look, you're making claims. You don't play with others you don't play with people who dehumanize others. Man, I got a lot of it here. Here we go. Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, they operate. Really? That's where we're going to go? Okay. And of course, this is unenforceable. He says, look, if someone's willing to buy a game despite being told not to, I'll take the purchase. So you're still going to take money from bigots. You're still going to take money from transphobes. All the people that have been pointed out here, these groups, and by the way, to the others, are these transphobes, are they in the room with you right now? But you're still going to take money from them. And guess what? You're not going to allow them at your tables and conventions, that's fine. But you still have no way of keeping them out of the hobby. That's the point. Also, they can buy your book. They can also alter it. Something doesn't work for their table, they can take it out. And of course, we have this guy. Oh, it's enforceable through psychological warfare. This is one of these crazy activist types that thinks that they're going to. This is the person who will dehumanize. The more companies stop making material for them, the less they will consume. Great point, Kremlin. An Australian named Kremlin here. Great point. You know the old saying, get woke, go broke? Do you know who's experiencing that right now, Kremlin? Wizards of the Coast. And since they will have a harder time recruiting new people, they will just end. Mm-hmm. Okay. The problem is, you're using psychological warfare. We just close our wallets, dude. We close our wallets, we stick to what we have, and we move on. You can never truly force someone from the hobby, but rhetoric like this is still important because it signals transphobes they're unwelcome. We'll see about that, okay? There's a whole lot of stuff going on. Spidey Cloned here had the take that I thought was probably the most fair. The fact is everyone can have their safe spaces. Groups tend to do that already by including people they only feel comfortable with. It's true. Play with the people that you trust, ladies and gentlemen. If a publisher wants to make that choice and speak out against it, I don't want to say they're right. Same if a group wants to counter-talk that publisher. That said, I do think we're at a crossroads in a good way where marginalized groups are taking the initiative and excluding the outright negativity to it. The irony that most tabletop RPGs started as a way for the excluded is now excluding people isn't lost on me. No shit. Final thought, though. If those OG nerds happen to also be racist, biggest transphobes, etc., then fuck them. Yeah, I can kind of agree with that, but again, you have to be able to quantify it. This isn't, oh, you don't play my edition, well, you must be an istorphobe and therefore persona non grata. It's not that. That alone is a childish take. Run your tables how you want, create the material you want. Just know that most games are being run by creatives who don't conform to that idea these days. Because it's a niche hobby. It always has been, always will be. And here we go. A guy with a hard-on for faux Norse stuff, sea lioning, and a thread about a game being pro-trans folks. White supremacist says what? Prejudice rears its ugly head. Remember what we were saying about overgrown man children? Here you go. They resort to the most childish antics ever. Right then and there. It's not hard to do if adding a pronoun field is to a character sheet is enough to trigger phobic people. Make queerness canonically accepted in each game until all the phobias are left with only some hacked up OSR. Like, the problem is that there's nothing at all keeping someone from making their own sheet that contains setting relevant character details or homebrewing the entire thing. My question is, do you care more about the game or the people you claim are phobic? I think we can absolutely see what Michael cares about here. And he doesn't even answer the question. He just goes more into the rant. Bigoted people have a very strong tendency to actively make any gathering uncomfortable for marginalized people, making a gathering even slightly welcoming to the marginalized. People send blah, 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 into such a frenzy they rage quit. Really? Dude, someone just straight up, and if I could find that tweet, I'll share it at some point. There were people making fun of my religion, telling me straight up fuck off for even questioning them. This in sort of a how dare you? Really? Look at who's talking, bud. And I just straight up told him, your own worst fears will happen if you keep chasing them long enough. One day you'll wake up and realize, hopefully one day you'll wake up and realize this, because right now you're just needlessly making enemies of people you don't even know for a game you could just play. And that's true. And I'm going to go kill this. Go back. Okay, cool. I will make a confession. I have actually pushed out and I've literally gate-kept my table, and I've only had to do it one time. And it was a guy who had a bad case of main character syndrome. Nothing I talked to him about. And I pulled him aside several times. The players at the table were trying to help me rein it under control. Even the DM, whom I'll call Josh, tried to get this guy to knock it off, and he would be all apologies. He would improve. We might get a session or two out of him before main character syndrome, the whole dickweed Dan act, would just pop up again. And I'm sitting there like, oh my god. But the only reason he even got included was because he actually had the book, and he happened to be over at my house during a game night. And of course he was not invited, but he asked if he could play, and of course we let him, because hey, what's one more? Always room for one more. Then he started his antics, and I told him immediately, that's not going to fly. Stop. He refused. We did this over and over and over again until finally the DM laid a trap for him, and he fell right into it. He grabbed his shit and went home. He happened to be over one night we were doing the Magic the Gathering. We let him join, and then we pushed him right back out. Why? Because he was sitting there stacking his deck. He refused to shuffle. So I was like, okay, well, if you're not going to shuffle, You can just hang out, but you're not going to play. He hung out thinking eventually we would let him play. Like we'd get bored enough to let him play. Not happening. I didn't really see him much after that. I was kind of happy, but anyway, we've been going on about 15 minutes, and I want to bring this up. There's a movie. If you have not seen it, I'm about to spoil a section of it for you. It's called Excalibur. I love this movie because it clearly shows. It clearly shows. It clearly illustrates this point. At one point in the movie, after Arthur has built Camelot, he's king. He's got his Knights of the Round Table. He and his knights are riding one day, and they're getting their asses kicked by one guy. One guy is just beating the hell out of them. And he's like, who is this guy? I'm going to go find out who the hell this is. So he goes up to a bridge. Now, by all rights, under that monarchy, this is Arthur's bridge. This is his land. You are going to move on orders of the king. And this guy's like, nope. Not until someone defeats me in battle. I've never been defeated in battle. He's like, yeah, you're just bragging. He's like, no, I'm not bragging. This is a curse. And until it ends, I'm not moving. So Arthur's like, okay, I will take you on. The entire contest between the two is fair. Until Arthur just becomes unhinged. Now he's going after this guy relentlessly. And it's Lancelot, and Lancelot tells him, your rage has unbalanced you. You would fight to the death a man who is not your enemy for a stretch of road you could easily ride around. And if you haven't seen this movie, I want you to watch this movie. It is a beautifully shot movie. It is a great movie. And it's one I will always recommend. I watch it multiple times a year. I love this movie. But that's what this is. You are making enemies of people over a game you could just sit down and play. Alright? I want everyone to just remember, you can only gatekeep your table. That's all you can do. If you write your books, well, you can make all the declarative statements of this group don't buy this book, that group don't buy this book, this group don't buy this book. You can do that. You can select your customers. But when your book starts failing, well, it must be this istrophobe that's doing it. No, we didn't make the rules. You did. Look at WotC right now. In a nice little state of decline. Couldn't last forever. Alright? But that's it for me. Just want to let you know. I love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always play what lights you up, and as always, play on.